Now that the veil is lifting and we can see that our world has been manipulated by a powerful cabal, it appears that we have enormous problems to resolve, for there is a huge chasm between the golden age of truth and knowledge and where we stand today. So how can we resolve these issues? Well, Albert Einstein left us a clue. He said, problems cannot be solved at the same level of awareness that created them. So in order to begin to examine this next level, we've got to first see the bigger picture. For unless we have a more expansive perspective, we're never going to be able to connect the dots and see what lies at the next level. And this premise was beautifully illustrated in a song by Stephen Schwartz for the movie The Prince of Egypt, and the song is entitled Through Heaven's Eyes. And I'd love to share the lyrics with you because they're so beautiful and meaningful today. A single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shines, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And the stone that sits the very top of the mountain's mighty face, does it think it's more important than the stones that form the base? So how can you know what your life is worth or where your value lies? You can never see with your eyes on earth. You must look at life through heaven's eyes. A lake of gold in a desert sand is less than a cool, fresh spring. And to one lost sheep, a shepherd boy is greater than the richest king. If a man loses everything he owns, has he truly lost his worth? Or is it the beginning of a new and brighter birth? So how do you measure the worth of a man? By wealth, or strength, or size? In how much he gained, or how much he gave? The answer will come to him who tries to look at his life through heaven's eyes. And that's why we share all we have with you, though there's little to be found. When all you've got is nothing, there's a lot to go around. No life can escape being blown about by the winds of change or chance. And though you never know all the steps, you must learn to join the dance. So how do you know what your life is worth or where your value lies? You can never see with your eyes on earth. Look at life through heaven's eyes. I just love those lyrics. I think they're so beautiful. Well, to look at life through heaven's eyes, we've got to begin with two perennial questions. What are we doing here, and why is life so difficult? Well, throughout the ages, spiritual teachers have taught that Earth is a schoolroom. So if Earth is a schoolroom, what's the curriculum? The evolution of consciousness. The expansion of awareness through experience. Is there an underlying structure to the evolutionary process? Well, I believe the answer to that question is yes. And I found it in a book by Dr. Ken Wilber called A Theory of Everything. And I just love this guy's title. I thought this dude has a theory of everything. So I was curious to find out what his theory was all about. Well, fundamental to Dr. Wilber's theory is the science of spiral dynamics. Now, spiral dynamics is an offshoot of developmental psychology that studies the growth and development of consciousness. More than 150 independent research studies were conducted across the globe that utilized more than 50,000 people that covered the spectrum of the population, and all these independent studies agreed on one item. Humanity is divided into 8 distinct levels of consciousness. They referred to as memes or V-memes, each representing a stage of evolution or a grade in the schoolroom of planet Earth. Now I'm going to describe each meme, but understand, I want you to be aware that this information is actually 20 years old, and I tried my darndest to update it, but I could not find any information that updated it. So just bear this in mind when we see this. Now, the first meme is the survival meme. Food, clothing, shelter, and kind of once you've been there, done that, you're going to move on to the next stage of evolution. Now, 20 years ago, 1/10 of the world's adult population was in this meme, and they held 0% of the power. Now, the second meme, or second grade in the schoolroom of Earth, is considered to be the tribal meme. In this meme, people join together to seek safety from outside threats because there's power in numbers. They composed, 20 years ago, 10% of the population and held 1% of the power. Now, the third meme is referred to as the power gods. Here we have individuals that leave the second meme and they emerge to conquer, outfox, and dominate. They are the bullies of our world. They are the drug lords, and they are many times in the military. They held 20 years ago 20% of the population, and they held 5% of the power. Now, the fourth meme is considered the herd mentality. In this meme, we have folks that adhere to a very strict code of conduct, which is enforced based on a specific interpretation of right and wrong. Here we see the Ku Klux Klan, we see our political parties, and some religious sects. Now, they held 40%, they composed 40% of the population 20 years ago and held 30% of the power. Now, the fifth meme is the most dominant meme that exists today. It is the scientific meme. Now, this meme is based upon the rational laws of science, which rule everything. They consider that empirical evidence is the only arbiter of truth. They composed 30% of the population, and they held 20 years ago, 50% of the power. Now, the sixth meme is referred to as the Greenpeace meme. And these folks kind of hate humanity because they believe that humanity must be freed from greed, dogma, and divisiveness, and that this meme is actually destroying the earth. 20 years ago, they composed 10% of the world's population, and they held 15% of the power. Now, interestingly, it is estimated that 20 to 25% of the American population, again, 20 years ago, was in this meme. So you can see our little tree huggers here and our Greenpeace folks. Now, the first 6 memes are referred to as first-tier thinking by Dr. Claire Graves, whose psychological research became the foundation for spiral dynamics. And these memes have all adopted the following stance. My beliefs are right, yours are wrong, and if I can't convince you of the error of your ways, I had better rid the world of your kind, or else the world's going to go to hell in a handbasket. As you can see, almost 100% of Earth's population is now mired in first-tier thinking. So how are we ever going to move into the next stage of evolution if the majority of people believe that only their viewpoint has merit? Well, something extraordinary began to happen 36 years ago, in 1980. Dr. Graves found that a momentous transformation was occurring in humankind, both psychologically and physiologically. He described this phenomenon as second-tier thinking, where a chasm of unbelievable depth of meaning is crossed. He estimated that 1 in 10,000 brains had developed different biological features and frequencies, that these people didn't conform to the norms of society because their minds were programmed for a different paradigm, which Graves considered to be the leading edge of human consciousness, which begins with the seventh meme. Now, the seventh meme is considered to be the integrative meme. Here we have folks that recognize that each meme is crucially important to the health of the whole and to the evolutionary process. How could you evolve if you had nowhere to evolve from, nor somewhere else to evolve to? 20 years ago, they compose 1% of the population and hold 5% of the power. And last but not least, the eighth meme is the holistic meme. They understand the bigger picture. They have incorporated all of the memes, and they see multiple levels of interaction. They detect harmonics and mystical forces. They composed, 20 years ago, 0.1% of the population and held 1% of the power. But we're still confronted with an issue because the majority of our civilization is still in the first tier. So what's it going to take to awaken them from their complacency and pry them away from Dancing with the Stars and American Idol? What's it going to take to enrage people to the degree that they get mad as hell and they refuse to take it anymore? For the path we are now on leads to only one conclusion, and that is the extinction of the human race. So what is it going to take to force humanity to acknowledge the destructive path we are now on and take action? It's going to take events of magnitude. It's going to take war and the constant, continual threat of war. Losing our children until we say no, until we say enough. It's going to take foreclosure, letting the banks steal your homes and let Wall Street take everything else. It's going to take outsourcing your job so that you're not employed. You can't make money, you can't support your family. It's going to take stealing your 401k, your pension fund. It's going to take poisoning your food through GMOs. It's going to take saddling our children with so much debt they'll never be able to get out from under. It's going to take poisoning our water through fracking, eliminating our trees and ruining our biosphere. It's going to take chemtrails, poisoning our air and the skies, poisoning our oceans through the absolutely deliberate BP oil spill. It's going to take the collapse of our monetary system by the crooks, liars, and thieves. Because when we have had enough, we will finally stand up for ourselves. How far do the powers that be have to go before we say enough? Frederick Douglass tells us. He says, find out just what the people will submit to, and you have found the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. And this injustice will continue until it is resisted with either words or blows or with both. The world is burning, friends, and it will continue to burn until we, the people of earth, stand up and say no. In Dante's Inferno, he said, the darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis. We are in the midst of a moral crisis.